Hello there, Chris here with C4 Kits. Today I'm going to be putting together a few of these torso kits, and I figured I'd video and show you how to do it. So when you get your kit, you can have a reference. So this is the first one. And now I'm building the second one as a demo. So this is the Cap 4 2. It's the top section. This is the bottom section here. So I've got the hole drilled out for the axle. All of your pieces, your core central columns will have the hole drilled out for the axle. We'll have a bottom section which has this transition piece to the smaller tube. And what I like to do is, I can't find a hole saw that's just the right diameter I need, so I'm cutting them on my bandsaw, which is a bit time consuming, but you have a split there when you cut in with the bandsaw. So what I do is I put this bottom piece in there, put it onto, make sure you're on the right end. So the hole for the axle is closer to the base than it is to the top. I think it's like 1 7/8 inches or something like that from the top edge. So maybe I'll put a piece of tape or something on these to mark the top. But on this one, this is the top. This is the bottom. So you want to make sure that you glue this piece to the proper side, which is the bottom. So I'm going to put the gap in the back. So also a little note on these central columns. I drilled the axle hole just off of center to the back, just to give it a little bit more weight on the front of the pivot of the axle. So you can tell, there you go. You can see I drilled it just off center, which would be on this line. So this is the back. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to mark everybody's columns so they know the back and the top is right here. So this is the back and the bottom. So I'll put this little groove going towards the back. All right, and then I just make sure I have this piece in there and I squeeze it together pretty good. I've already sanded the bottom of both of these. And now, you know what might be good for you to do is just put yourself a little mark to the back. And know that's where you want your the crease in the transition part to go. Also kind of try to get it concentric and then squeeze it in on this smaller piece of pipe here. Okay. Now that we've got that, let's glue it. Okay, now what you don't want to do is get glue on this piece, because you want this piece to be able to slide in and out. So get it in there just enough to where it's not going to get the glue on it. Only my fingers will. And once you get it set, pull this piece out so it doesn't get glued in. And that's pretty much it for the bottom transition piece. Push it on there pretty good. Let it sit. That's it for part one. Okay, what I've done is decided I'm going to put tape on all of these pieces, and it's going to tell you the top and the back. Okay, so once you know that you put this piece on, the next thing we want to do is put our top section on, just top plate, and that is 1 inch with like a piece of O2 or O1 styrene on the top. It's exactly 1 inch from this top edge. So the way that you can ensure that is get 2 of your 1 inch blocks. My other one is downstairs at my other modeling desk. And just push this disc down onto your 2 1 inch blocks and make sure you know where it is, and then glue it on. Or one thing I just made is I took a what is this, 3.5 inch piece of PVC and cut it at exactly 1 inch, and I'm going to use that as my gauge so I can push everything down, spin it, make sure it's exactly where I want it, and then glue it. So let's do that. Okay, so we're back at this. As you can see here, it is 1 inch from the top, and I have a piece of, I think it's 01 styrene on here. Okay, so that's what we need to do. This is exactly 1 inch, and I'll make sure I put the tape on so it doesn't go down past an inch. Let's see if I did it on the first one by accident. Yeah, it's pretty close. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this tape off. The one you get should have a piece of tape that can, I'll put it up a little bit higher, and so it should be able to stay on once you locate your disc. Okay, so basically once we get that thing down, another thing I will mention on these discs, get you a radial or a rounded file and deburr the inside, and then run the outside edge. I usually just spin it. A piece of sandpaper board. Get it nice and flat. I'm not going to deburr all these pieces, so you as the model maker will have to fit it up the way you want. Obviously don't do it too much, because then it'll be all hogged out and it'll be too loose. But you want it kind of like that, so it just barely touches. Okay. So now I'm going to use my favorite Loctite, favorite super glue. And make sure there's no burr on this, making it stick up like a 1/16 of an inch or something on one side. I deburred it, but there was still a little piece right there. Also, if there's any writing on it, that's probably the top. So let's make sure we put that up. Okay, good. Next, we'll dry fit it. I usually try to keep the writing to the front and right side. That's the bottom, or that's the back. So there's the writing. We'll just put it right there. Okay, I could probably just run some glue around it right there. So let's do that. Okay, one other thing before we glue this is you want to get some sandpaper. Make sure you rub around this thing. Buff it up, give it some teeth. That should be good. And then after that, get your rag. Clean off any of the debris. Okay, now we're ready. So got this in place. I think for this one, I'm gonna put the back to me. The front's gonna be over here. So I don't want that to be like that. And then I've deburred the inside already and already smoothed the outside. I think I'm just gonna put the glue, super glue in here for this one. See how that works. I don't remember how I did it on the first one, but the first one worked great. All right. So there's that. We've got this piece ready. We know where the back is. We know what the top is. Let's push it down quick. I just got an idea of something I think I want to do on the next one. Actually, I'm going to do it on this one. Though on the first one, I cut it out with the bandsaw. On this one, I used hole saws. This is the second prototype. Let me wipe off all this glue. All right, so on camera, I made a mistake. That's all part of it. I make mistakes all the time, and then I learn something from them, and then I do it better the second time, and then maybe make a different mistake, and then do it better the third time. It's all part of it. So on the first one, I don't think you can see on this, but this first piece I cut out with a bandsaw. This is the second prototype, number 2. This one I used hole saws. I bought a couple hole saws. But the one thing I like about the bandsaw is it allows me to squeeze it, because I cut a little slot in here. Let's cut a slot in the back. So if we know that's the front, the back will be in here somewhere. So I'm gonna go on the bandsaw and just knock out like, 1/16 of an inch. And then when I glue it, I'll be able to, kind of like a bike clamp on a bike. If you're familiar with a bike clamp, they have a slot with a bolt, and then the bolt pinches it together onto the tube, into the seat tube. I'm gonna do that so when I glue it, I can squeeze it, and then it'll make sure to grab the pipe. Because I made sure this one rotates smoothly, but I think the tolerance was a little bit too much, and it didn't quite, the glue didn't quite grab on. So I'm gonna go cut this. I'll be right back. Okay, there we go. Disc number 2, prototype number 2. I've just cut a little slot in it on the bandsaw, so when I glue it, I'm gonna squeeze it together. I'm also gonna put some glue in here, and just like a bike clamp, it'll squeeze in on this tube. And all you need is a little bit. Like I can already tell that's clamped down. And so I don't even need to put glue in there because it's not gonna close up that much. Okay, so I just learned something on prototype number 2. I will transfer this to all the rest of them. 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So when you get it, just make sure you get all your placement the way you want it. Slide it in place and squeeze it together until it dries. Okay, let's do it. Okay, so this time I'm gonna line up both the slots in the back. I'm gonna keep that on the top. So that's what we want. Yeah, I probably could just use, I don't know, maybe some weld on, or no, I gotta use super glue because this is a MDF going onto a PVC plastic, so I'm gonna use super glue. The other way I could do it is run the bead of super glue. I'll try that. I'm gonna just try some different ways. You probably have ways that you might want to do that are better. Also, make sure I'm paying attention to what I'm doing. The end needs to be up. I'll use the prototype as a guide. Is that right? We need the 1 inch section needs to be sitting off the top edge. Top edge, 1 inch to this ring. So top edge 1 inch, and that puts the axle just a little bit below. Yep, that's correct. That's what we want. Monkey, chill out, dude. Sorry, my cat's bothering me. Come on, go away. Go away. Yeah, he just sits there and cries until. Sometimes I let him out, but a cat in a shop is not really cool. So, where were we? Okay. Platform is going to be 1 inch from there. That's correct. Then the axle hole, then the bottom sticking up. Okay. So we've got that. I'm gonna put a mark, if I can, on this PVC. And remember where the back is. And then I'm gonna run a bead of glue around the pipe here. Let's see how that works. Run it a little bit low. I think I went too low right there. That should be plenty, but. Okay, so I ran the glue just below my line. Now I'm going to get the back where I want it. Open up this thing a little bit, let it lay flat, and then clamp it in. So I'm pushing the disc down. And squeezing it together. And this is going to have some residual like tension in that MDF that's going to want to pull apart. So what we can do is, let me see here. Yeah, I think I did it on this first one too. You can see it in here. See that little teeny piece of 06 plastic? What I did was take a scrap plastic and I just cut it like that and glued it down as a bar to hold, securely hold these two. Again, with the seat post, bike seat post equivalent, they have a bolt that threads into a threaded hole here and a slip hole here. And they slip it in and the bolt pulls these two together. That's basically what this will do. I'll glue that down and then it'll keep any residual tension in this disc. It'll hold it in place. I'm gonna use a thicker piece though. So let me go find a piece of plastic. Actually, I don't know if I want to do that because let me show you this. On prototype 1, I wanted this back piece to be up kind of closer to the top. But you can see here, you can see that shim I put in there. Again, that was to cover this gap. But it kind of pushed this box down a little lower than I want. And I don't really want to put it on the top. Or if I do put it on the top, whatever other plastic I use to go around, because I don't really want to see the bare MDF. So I'll just have to make sure you use the same thickness. And I actually used, I think this is an 03 or an 04. It looks like I did that on both sides. You can see where the gap was. And I'll put a little piece there to, anyway, that's that. It works. It's on there nice and even. Exactly where I need it to be. And then the next step will be coming in and putting in these pieces. I think I'm zoomed in a little too tight. So we're going to put 3 of these, one in the center on the front. And then we have to consider our axle. So I'm going to use, I've got more all thread coming, or threaded rod. So I'm going to use a piece of threaded rod to run through there for the axle. And I'm using these, I think these are like 7/16, half inch, something like that. 7/16. I'm going to run those over. So when we do these braces to make the shape of the cone, I need to make sure I am not right up on that hole. I need to give myself, you know, just maybe oops, starting to stick. At least 1/8 of an inch, maybe 3/16 of an inch. So keep your gussets that far off the axle hole, maybe even a little more, just to be safe, in case you need to wallow out this hole a little bit, which you shouldn't, but Depends on what you want. Okay, that's gonna be it for now. I gotta get on some other work. And I also need to shape this back piece. So here's the first one I made. I think it turned out pretty cool. I just tapered it in a little bit. And so I'll put that shape on it. I've already got a template somewhere. And I will shape this out. Then I gotta go take a lunch break and do some computer work for a little bit. Then I will come back this afternoon and we will finish up this, what should we call it? Torso core, spine, T-cylinder, something. Anyway, we just got to put these pieces on, figure out where they go, and then put the back piece on, and I'll show you how to do that later. Okay, I'm back for part 2 on this central spine. Spinal column, that's what we'll call this thing. That's T-column. So I'm not sure if I'm going to include plastic. I'm just going to give you guys these discs in the kit. But I usually try to cover up wood, and I think it'll be fine. Like if you spray paint this, because we've also got another part that covers up most of it, which is the spacer between the torso and the turret top. So it's probably fine. And then the plastic on these vac forms that I made, which you have some options with. I'll get more into this later, but I'll show you my buck also. So here's the buck for this piece, which ended up not needing it. It didn't work out like I had wanted. I made it so I beveled the edge, thinking that would look good. And then I wanted to see if all this would pull tight, and it doesn't really. Yeah, the top edge worked out okay. But I like it better with a more like a harder top edge. So you can do either one you want for yours. You can see here I kind of just have a hard edge, and then I have this ring. That might be a little bit too close. And then I have the plastic. So on these ones that I molded, which is I used this same exact vac form that you get in your kit for this piece, this original prototype. But what I did, instead of using this kind of angled top section, I just went along and I cut mine right at the base. Cut mine right at the base of the bevel. Cut that out, and then I just glued it right along here on the top. Hello. How's it going? How about you? Delivery. Okay, cool. Just had a little UPS delivery. Let me show you guys what I got. A big old box of boxes from the boxery. I got like 48 boxes here. So, getting these kits ready. Got boxes for them now, shipping boxes. Okay, where were we? The worst is when I'm in the middle of vacuum forming and I get deliveries, or people come up, or there's kids on scooters and junk in the cul-de-sac. It's annoying. Okay, let me reset. I was telling you guys about the differences in the edge. With this vac form piece that you get, you'll get 4 pieces with the kit. You can either figure out how to use yours with the beveled edge, or do like I did on this one and just cut all that top section off. So I just cut it off right there. Okay, enough of that. So my next point I was gonna make is I'm just gonna give you guys these discs. If you feel like it, get yourself a piece of plastic, trace it out, and cut yourself out a little piece of plastic to glue down to that if you absolutely just want plastic instead of maybe seeing some of that. This one here is MDF, and it's not too, the surface quality of it's not too bad, but I can usually tell if something is plastic or foam or MDF. It's not bad, but I think I'll go ahead and cut a ring of plastic on mine. You can decide whether to do that for yours if you want. Okay, there we go. I took like 2 minutes and quickly cut out a piece of, yeah, 01 plastic, and I'll use that to glue over my disc. So this piece of plastic won't come in the kits, but this is prototype number 2, and since I'm using it for the demo, this one will. I put 2 marks down on this because I like this work fast, and I don't think I read the right mark. Also, I didn't allow for the tolerance of the slip fit, so I need to go a little bit bigger. Okay, that should do it. There we go. Okay, yeah, you're gonna have to have some, if you're a maker, these are maker's concept model kits, so it's really meant for, I'm gonna try to give you everything you need for the parts so they're all ready and then you just make, but you're gonna need some flat materials, different thicknesses of plastic, and glues and sandpaper and stuff like that to put these together how you want. Because I also am gonna take a strip of plastic and put around this edge. So I'll just figure out what distance I need, which is like 1/4 of an inch, just a little under 1/4 of an inch, which is probably about like that. And then you just hold your finger on your pencil tight and run your finger along the straight edge. Get a line, cut it out, wrap it around. I would use 01 for this so it bends easy. So I'm gonna do that next. Okay, I just cut a piece and I drag it through my fingers onto the sandpaper here, just to kind of give it a little bit of tooth and clear off any debris. And then secondly, I'm gonna, this is for the strip to go around the edge. You don't need to do this, and it also depends on how you're gonna use this edge. But I'm gonna cut mine when the part, or at least on this prototype number 2, I'm gonna cut the part. This is I've built 3 heads, or 3 turrets. This is the second torso piece that I've made. So that's why I'm calling this one prototype number 2, because it's literally the second one I've made. So before I put that down, I'm just gonna take my fingers and kind of pinch my thumb up and pull this through. And it just kind of puts a little bit of a curl, a little bit of a twist on it. Do a dry fit real quick. And then I'm just gonna glue that down. And I'll share one other thing with you. Usually when I use a hole saw, what you wanna do is you wanna go partially, like maybe 3/4, or just put a little mark on one side, you know, just barely get a mark in there, and then flip the piece over and use your pilot hole and then push your saw through from the other side. That way you don't get a lot of splintering on the wood, because it has a nice score mark on both sides. What I've found with this MDF, you don't need to do that with MDF. When I do it with MDF, or Masonite, that's what we always called it as kids. You can see here, it leaves kind of an uneven ridge. So it's better with this MDF just to push it straight through, because you don't get the flaking and the chipping and the splintering on the back. So with some of these discs you get, they're not perfect, but it's all you need is something for this plastic to lean on and get some glue contact onto. It doesn't need to be perfect. If I wanted them perfect, I would sit at my desk for an hour or two and make a file, and then send these off to the laser cutter and get them all printed, or all cut. But I want to go through the art of building something by hand and making some kits. They're hand built. I don't know. I think it's fun and it's cool, and it just looks, it has a hand built look, and that's what I'm going for. If I was going to build more, I'm just building a run of 7 of these. But if I was going to do, 77 of them, I'd definitely get some laser cuts and some 3D printing and stuff going. Okay, so that's what we want. That's what we're going to get. Everything is ready to go. Just got to find my super glue. Okay, that's the top edge right there. So let's start from like right around here. Okay. So that's the top. And with this stuff, get it on there quickly, because this MDF kind of soaks up the glue. So don't lollygag getting it down. Maybe I should have put the glue on the plastic. That's what I usually do. But I'm trying to look over my shoulder all weird and look at a phone, and it just kind of takes me out of my flow a little bit. Okay, I'm just showing you what I'm doing here. So I just glued this top piece on, and I'm just making sure to push it down and really get it glued on that edge, because we're going to come back and sand this edge. And I'm not too worried about this edge, because I'm going to be putting this plastic up to it and gluing that on. I just don't want to see any MDF on this. And it's literally, you just got to work fast. Put your piece up there, kind of figure out where you want it, put a mark, grind it out. I use these for straighter lines. And then just go. Flow with it. That's concept modeling. Roll it in. It's already sanded. Okay, cool. This time I'm going to put it on the plastic, the glue. And there's going to be a little glitch where I didn't get it perfect, which is fine. Sorry, guys, I'm not looking at the camera right this sec. I'll put a little bit more glue where it stopped. Just see about where it stops, cut it. No big deal. Doesn't need to be perfect. Get it in there and done. I gotta just put a little bit more glue in there, maybe. go to the next part. Okay, because I did this in a couple minutes in a big hurry without trying to be perfect, you can see where I overcut my line a little bit. And I knew I was going to come back and finish this edge, so you can either leave it there until later, until you start to fit up your back shells, or you can clean it off now. Sometimes I'll just take the knife, drag it along. On this 01, sometimes a sanding stick will actually peel it up. So a knife is good just to get the bulk of it off. Okay, and then you can come back in with your sanding stick and work that edge. And I would say put a little bevel on this edge so that the plastic that's going up to it has something a little bit more to stick to than just like a hard 90. So I'm just kind of spinning it around, knocking off that edge. Okay. And you can see the little imperfections. I kind of, I don't mind that. It's in the machine, you're gonna have gaps between metal plates and stuff like that. And also we're gonna come and glue another piece onto it. So, I mean, this one is definitely not perfect, but it works. Now see what I did here was when I was putting the strip down, I ran it a little bit long, and the strip was hanging over, so it was a little bit flappy right there. So I just cut it really quick, and you can see if I would have taken my time, I could have lined it up and cut it better, but I don't really care. If I was in 3D modeling or something, I would nitpick at every little thing. Or if I was building a production model, I would make sure that was perfectly straight. But for concept models, it's like, I don't mind, once it's all primed, it just adds a little bit more of visual interest, makes it look more like a machine. Where some plates or some panels have moved around, especially for Star Wars style stuff that's imperfect, used future. A lot of those, or war machines of any kind, mechs. A lot of that stuff gets banged up and imperfect. Okay, I'm back from actual lunch break. I'm not sure yet, but as I'm making these kits, I might include some strips of like 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch, so you guys can already have it. It just depends on, yeah, we'll see. I'm kind of hoping you guys will have all of your basics and can do some of this easy stuff. I just want it to be convenient that you already have all of the shapes and all of the parts, and it's really just assembling and then cutting some flats to fill in some areas here and there. So the next step is going to be figuring out where we want to put our triangle gussets. And I made the first ones out of this PVC, expanded PVC, that's what it's called. And then the second one I made out of MDF, 1/4 inch MDF. So I have like 6 or 12 of these. So one of these 7 kits is gonna have MDF. I think the rest of them, I'm gonna go with these. I can cut these out with actually I cut some out with the razor blade, but I ended up just going to the bandsaw. It's a little faster, but I think these may be better to work with. Either one of them's fine. It's just this is a little bit harder material, and you're going to need to do a couple things. One is, well, this is what I do. I don't think it makes a huge difference, but if you have a piece of PVC, that diameter, you can actually run your gussets up and down in there and make it a slight concave, but I don't think it's going to make a difference. The thing I did for this piece was once I decided where these go, I came in and put some flats and just made sure to kind of flatten it out so it gets the most, you can see that there. So it gets the most contact area possible. Okay, so I'm gonna figure out where to put these. I think I'll just use the expanded PVC on these. I'll do that next. I'll go over to the bandsaw or the belt sander and shape this back piece. Yeah, so this is kind of a construction video. I'll come back and do more of this once I have this kit complete, and I'll show you more of the assembly. I still have a few more parts to make. And while I'm at it, yeah, my first vac form didn't have this Bondo on it. And I put these vents in there to make sure the air could pull, but there was so much suction that it bent my buck in between these gussets. So I had to come back and fill it in and then sand it. Actually spent a lot of work on this that I didn't really need. Like this buck's not gonna work out great for me. If anybody wants it, let me know. Because I want a hard edge on the top. And I'm gonna end up not even using any of this. All I need is this bent over edge. So I ended up, this is the one that got, when I vacuum formed the first one, the vacuum was so strong it just crunched all in. So then I came back with and filled in with Bondo, smoothed it, sanded it out, and pulled some more. And so what I've done is I've pulled 2 for each kit, 2 of these, and then I pull a second one on top. So you'll have 2 pieces that you can cut for your base. And then you have a second one, which is slightly larger, that you cut your panels out of. Yeah, so that's how we're doing that. But you can see on the bottom, I don't need all of that. But it was worth a try. I wanted to see if I could pull it tight, then it'd just give me an option. But since it's kind of blobby there, it didn't really suck into that crease. I just cut them right here. So just like, you know, a little bit above the bottom, and then just made sure that was glued in over that edge and then glued into that top. The other thing I did before I did that is I went around with a hard, like a metal file, and I banked it onto both edges and made sure to have a flat edge on both these angles. Went all the way around a couple times, and then I think I probably came back in with this. That way you know the contact surface that you're putting your plastic sheathing on is going to have a, you know, maybe a 1/16 of an inch of flat area to glue to, and it's perfectly parallel. Okay, what else? Yeah, I think I'll take a pause there and go machine this part. So I machined that out of wood, and then I skinned it with 01 styrene. Takes a little bit of work to make this piece. I'm definitely not getting my money's worth. This kit's gonna probably be $250 as well, and you're basically getting my work for, you know, $2 an hour or something. Probably by the time I add it all up, it's not much, but it is what it is. And here we are. There we go. These are the back pieces. That's how you're gonna get them. So what I recommend doing, if you're new to modeling, is just do super glue and glue them down to the plastic. You're gonna have to buy some 01 and 02 plastic, and then come back with your razor knife and just trace them out, cut them out, glue the next side, and do that until you get a fully covered piece like this, this first prototype. So yeah, you can just paint them like this if you want, but you can see the grind marks on them. That's why I usually sheet them, but I'm not getting paid enough with these little kits to do this. I mean, it'll probably take you 10 minutes, but One other thing I will do, let me show you. Okay, so what I did on this one, if you look closely, you can see that the back of this piece has a radius on it. So I will do that on all these pieces for these kits. And simply all I do is I take the same diameter pipe, lay a piece of sandpaper on it, and then I'll go over there to my sanding area, scrape it back and forth until I get a nice concave or convex shape. So then when it glues to the pipe, it has a nice solid contact patch. So I'll go do that now. Okay, there we go. All the rest of these back pieces for the kit are done. So what I did to each of them, you can, if you look at it up close here, where are we? You can see that I grinded out the middles so that when you put them on this pipe, they'll have a nice, at least 1/4 of an inch contact patch. And that's all it needs for the super glue. Okay, so I think that's about it for today. I've got all the pieces made. I still have to glue this one up, and then I'm gonna have to pull some more back forms, which I don't have time for today. So yeah, I'll finish this up this weekend. Okay. Since I'm doing a demo of this central column build number 2, I decided to change this one up. Number 2 is going to be different than the rest. I notched the top, so this one will sit up higher. So this is the front, this is the back. So you can see I notched that one so it can go up higher. You can do that to your kit if you want, but it's going to come just like this, or actually like this. So the piece I'm going to give you that comes with the kit will already be beveled and cut like the first one. But one thing about this that I didn't like, I felt like it was down too low and stuck down too low down here, so I wanted to move it up a little bit. So I think that'll be better. Yeah. So this one will sit up higher. Okay. Okay, the way I'm going to mark out my placement, for where to put these triangular gussets, I'm going to run a piece of 1/4 inch tube through the main column, or you can use the piece of threaded rod that I send you in the kit. And then from that, just eye up perpendicular straight off the front. Make a mark. So somewhere in there will be the first one. So we'll get one piece will go right there in the center of the axle. And then the other one, there's 2 that will rotate over. I'd say keep them a good 3/8 of an inch off of the axle. That's all you need. So you put one on either side of the axle, front and back, and then one in the center up here in the front. And then when it comes to the back, get your piece in the back, and yeah, figure out how you want to do it. This one, I think I only had on this first one, I think I only had one gusset right there. I can't really see. I think I had one gusset about right there. And yeah, that's it. That was enough to, you know, kind of in the center of the gap, maybe in the back, the center of the panel. And then that'll hold the center, and then all you really need is to glue down that edge and that edge. So you'll have one whole edge, second edge, and one gusset in the middle. And then this stuff here on the edge I mean, it's fine. It's a little flexy, but I think that's all you need. So let's do one on the back. Probably on this one, it was closer to over here, but I think I'm gonna put it a little bit more towards the center. So I say on the back section behind the axle, put the gusset about a thumb length away from the centerpiece. Let's see how that works. So we've got the front, back, and you might not want to put this in until you get your skins all cut. I would recommend cutting all your pieces first, taking these vac form pieces and cutting your skins out the way you want, lining them up, and then put the front one on first possibly, and then cut the piece for the back the way you want it, measuring it all out, and then you can put this in. It might be easier to measure the rear skins and where you want to cut them if this piece is not glued down first. So you can mark, put it on there, and maybe make a little mark of where you think it's going to be, where you want it, and then you can put your skins on and find out where you want to cut them. And then once you have all your outside skins cut, then you can come back in and glue this one down, and then glue your piece down in here. Okay, in the kit, you get these triangular gussets. They're cut out of a soft, or kind of a hard foam, expanded PVC. And you'll notice these are not all perfectly even. So like this one is longer. It's just when I sand them down and grind them, sometimes the tapers, the ends break off. One gets tapered a little bit more than another one, but that's all you need. I mean, they're all within like a 64th of or something. Maybe this one gets a little bit thicker here, so I could run it on the sandpaper. That's probably what I should do. Take off a little bit more thickness here. But if you get them like this, just level them up however you see fit with your sandpaper. And that's what's gonna make your mech, is how you fit it up. But I'm not gonna do that on all these. They're gonna be roughs, and you're gonna have to dial them in the way that you prefer. And then once you get them kind of leveled up, the first one we're gonna do is the center. I'll use this longest one for the center. We'll do the front first. So you wanna make sure that they go that way, obviously, and not that way. You don't want a gap, so don't put them in upside down. Put them in so they sit nice and flush. And I left them a little bit long because technically, since this is round, what you can do is you come in and knock off that edge a little bit and this edge a little bit. And you can sand it to kind of fit. That way when you put your vacuum, sorry guys, when you put your vacuum form down, you won't see little like lines or anything. It'll sit nice and flush, but that might require some sanding also. This one looks way too long. Yeah, I think I didn't thin them up enough on the ends. I tend to leave them a little bit thick and just plan on sanding them. So what you're gonna do once you put these in is you can just sand them down on this edge here, because I noticed this part of the vac form is a little bit fatter than this edge. So I think if you got a little bit of extra thickness here, that'll be fine. Okay, remember to, I don't think you need your axle anymore. So remember to sand this down before you put your gussets on. And where I know I'm gonna put one, which is about 3/8 of an inch or a thumb off of the center of that axle. No, that's for the back. I think for the front, I'm gonna go about, that's plenty, 3/8 of an inch off center. So when I know where that's gonna go, just try to flatten it out a little bit. In that area to get the most contact point. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna have one there. And then one in the front, which maybe it's good to keep this in. Let me make sure. So perpendicular off of that, just eye it up. Yeah, it's about right in here. So I know I'm gonna need one right in there. Sand and wipe. And then we got our last one, which we know is gonna be, you know, about 1/4 inch or 3/8 off of this. Now I'm gonna pull the axle out. There you go. All right, now you're good to glue. Make sure I got the top good. Yep. Okay, we're all set. So again, for my front mark, yeah, that's the back. This is the front. Yeah, maybe I should have put a mark on here because I just sanded off the center mark I put. But whatever, just eye it up. Somewhere in there. The first one. Let me see here. Damn, I zoomed way in. Okay. Yeah, sometimes I don't like putting marks on my models, but other times I do because you're picking tools up and putting things down, and when you come back, it's nice to have your visual alignment. Like I have that little arrow there, but I'm gonna put a mark on the front right there, and a mark on the front right there. So now I can quickly orient to the front and make sure I know this is the back here. So I'll put 2 marks for the back. Okay. This is the one I was going to use for the front. So yeah, I want that one to be directly in the front. Perpendicular between the 2 axles. That looks good. Let's hit it. And you just want to glue just on the bottom of this platform and on the PVC pipe, not on the foam transitional piece. Okay, make sure you put it in right. Make sure that the bottom is squared up, and then put it down. So push, as you're putting it down, push down and up into this platform. And you'll be surprised at how the glue will magically climb up the sides and get up under your fingers. This glue's amazing, actually. It's kind of cold out in the garage today, but it's not too bad. Okay. And see, I kind of like this expanded PVC better. I can just almost squish it in there. Whereas the Masonite or the MDF, it works just as good. It's just a little bit harder. I mean, some people may prefer it. So one of the kits will have Masonite. All right, that one's done. Now let's roll over to this left side. Actually, let's do the right side first, since that's the off-camera side. I'll do my test on that piece first. Okay. So I know it just needs to be about right there. That'll give me plenty of room. So now, since I've got it fitted up, I'll just put, you know, a mark or two. My thumb down, take it down, and hit it with glue. It's good to double check your placements. Before you commit. See, did I just put that upside down? No. That's good. On a couple of these, I didn't cut the back perfectly square, so you can see it right there. But it's still getting up in there, up in this crack in here. Sometimes it's good to just push down into the table. Okay, now for the last one in the front. So that's going to be the right side axle. This is the left side. So you can see I already flattened out the cylinder about right there. That's a little too close. I think I want to go over just a little more. Be careful flicking a rag on there. Sometimes your rag will wrap around and knock something crooked. It might have happened once. Not that often. Okay. Now do your dry fit. So this is the second one I've ever put together these, so my third one will be faster. Right there looks good. Just to make sure, I'm just going to put a center line mark and a center line mark. Okay, I'm squared up on the piece. Let's do it. Just get a little line on there. Bring your piece in. I might put too much glue. Sometimes if you put too much, it'll float it for a little bit. Yeah. See, I floated it over a little. That's okay. This one's just going to be where it is. Okay, I've literally got a camera like right here. It's so annoying. Some days I just want to model, but I need to put some instructional videos up too for people. I'm hopefully going to get more kids building these. If you're a kid and you build one, make sure you send me some photos or post your build somewhere. And always email me with any questions or any parts you break or have problems with. Just let me know and we'll get you some new ones. Possibly, depending on what you did. If it's a flaw in something I did, I'll work with you on getting that fixed. But if you do something silly and drop it and break it or step on it, that's your problem. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but... Okay, so this one is interesting. I seem to have made these... I think what I did when I traced the first one is I went a little bit big on the tracing, planning on sanding them down and working them out just the way I wanted. So I left myself a little bit of extra room. So now I got to deal with that because all of that looks accurate compared to the prototype. Same height. But as you can see, these ones are way longer. So I think what I did was just on the first one, I think I just came in figure out where that hits. Yeah, so I'm going to cut those down and then we'll move to the back. Okay, so I'll just let you guys watch me do it in real time. I'll move the camera. camera a little bit. Let's see where we're at. It's good enough. So I don't think I had to do this on the first one. I'll check my template. I usually try to use the same template for all my tracing, so each one of them doesn't grow a little bit more. There you go. So I kind of marked a little mark of kind of where it's going to fold into this area good, or roll into that area, and I'm just going to run the knife through it and cut it out. Okay, so I'll square it up. Yeah, so that's kind of what you'll get, is you're going to kind of roll into this bottom edge a little bit. So I'm going to leave all of these triangular gussets long and cut a little bit large, so you can sand and shape them the way you want. Okay, so the front is done. Now let's get to the back. So the back one, we need to figure out where we want them. Okay, so we know that this block goes perpendicular to the axle. So somewhere right in like there, I think. That looks about right. If you don't want to eye it up like that, put your piece of tube through and just get it, so it's not crooked, so it's 90. Okay. Once you got that, I'd say just put this back one kind of right in between, in the middle. It doesn't really matter where, as long as it has something to touch and glue to. So I'm going to go center line here and center line there. Okay, so now I have 2 marks to line up to. And then you can come in with your okay, you can see how it flattened that out. Now we're going to put our piece in here. Fits, dry fits well. And so what you want to do is just take your piece exactly how it's going to go and put it directly down. So you know how your piece is going to go. Don't just take your piece and flop it on the ground. Then you got to kind of figure out which way it's oriented. Again, like you don't want to then come back in and put it in upside down. So you get that gap. You need to make sure you put it in tight. So once you dry fit it, okay, you know you want it there. Dry fit it. Put your part down, take this piece and put it directly right there, exactly in the same orientation you want to pick it up. And hit it with your glue. And then when you're sticking it down, just look at it this way and get it perpendicular off of this platform. And if it's a little crooked, it's not going to matter so much. But basically try to get it perpendicular. This one's leaning a little bit this way. It's because I was looking at the camera instead of looking at my modeling. Looking at both a little bit, I guess. Let's see how far off I am. Actually, it's not that bad. I mean, it's pretty squared up by eye. So, not bad. Okay, so that one's on. And definitely, give this thing 20 seconds or something of just really squeezing it together, making sure that super glue melts up in there good and dries before it starts to peel itself off. I guess while we're here, I can go ahead and, I want it to kind of come down and wrap like that. Good enough. Okay, now we need to find I think that's the back, or is that the back? That's the back. These are the axles. Yeah, that's the back, almost lined up with my gap. Very much lined up with my gap. So, we want it there. And so on this last piece, we want to put it, again, right in between this back block and the axle. So maybe about a thumb's width. So right there is good. Put yourself a little mark. I'm really tired today too, guys, so bear with me. Making these things is a lot of work, and then I gotta shoot video, download video, edit videos, upload it to the Patreon. Yeah, I hope somebody else likes this stuff as much as I do. It'd be nice if I could get some help, get some support, get some interest, you know? We can build these things together. I just need somebody else to care about it as much as I do and want to do it, which for some reason I just feel like I have to. It's just, I'm just drawn to it. It's just what I want to do. Okay. So yeah, I'm tired and blabbering. Now, we need to get back to sanding this thing. So I'll put my marks where I want it, know where it's going to be. Now just make sure you knock off that plasticky sheen and that perfect roundness directly in between your two marks. So you can kind of just go back and forth. And then cut across it. Cut across the axis, perpendicular. Hit the bottom of the platform. Clean out your debris. Okay, so now you can see I got a nice flat section right there. So this piece will glue to it as good as possible. All right, we're good. Oops. See, I just threw my piece down and then I had to get reoriented again. I wouldn't want to pick it up and put it on backwards. And then once you got it super glued down, you're like, oh, bummer. You got to rip it off and it's a mess. So I need to slow it down a little bit. Go from here, put my piece down, then glue it. Actually, I don't like to put super glue on MDF because it absorbs it really quick. So I'll do the plastic first, then I'll quickly hit the MDF, and then I'll get this in there before it has a time to dry. Okay. And then once you get it where you want it, remember to push it up into this edge, this platform, as well as push it back down around this bottom edge. Sorry guys, I hope you don't have beepers like that on your car. If you do, you know you can turn them off. Because it's kind of lame. Oh, dude. All right. There we go. That one's good enough, but a little crooked. So keep that in mind when I cut it. This one is actually, I don't think I sanded this one fully. So I'll have to do that. And then I think that's it for today because I don't want to put this one on yet until I get some more vacuum forms pulled. So yeah, let's end it there today. We pretty much built the core structure of our torso. Okay. Where's that go? Put it right there. So next, I just need to vac form 4 pieces. 2 of the first layer, front and back, and then 2 of the top layer. So you can cut your panels. So we'll have 1 layer that goes directly onto this structure, and then we'll have a second layer that we'll put on top of the panels. So we'll pick up with that in the next episode. Once I get those vac forms done, that'll be one thing. I'll have all the pieces. Then I'll lay them out and cut them and fit them, dry fit them to the front and the back. And then once I have my panels cut and I know I got them where I want them, then I'll glue this piece on next. And then we'll panel it. And once you get your first layer of panels down, then it's just about shaping the, actually the first layer of skin. Once you get the first layer of skin down, it's just about shaping your panels. I think I'm just gonna give you guys, in the kits, you're just gonna get 4 pieces and I'll mark them. 2 for the shell, the first skin or shell, and then 2 for the outer plates. I'm really tired. I'm thinking in real time here. So this is the second one. This is the first one I've ever built right here. This is the second one I've ever built. So yeah, I'm figuring it out as I'm trying to record a video. Gotta get this stuff done. So yeah, that way, maybe I can put some marks on it or some indications of where I'd recommend you cut it. But I won't cut those. That way you get to cut them and skin it and fit it the best way that you can with the individual prototype that you have, because they're all going to be a little bit different. So the challenge is really about taking what you get and getting results with it. Look forward to seeing what you do. Okay, so another thing I recommend you do is once you have your torso structure done, you can bring it over to your sanding board. Let's see, I wanted to sand this one down a little bit more. So yeah, kind of, knock off the edges of these ribs a little bit and make sure they're flush the way you want them. That one's still a little proud. And then you can go all the way around on that and make sure that it's ready to take the skin. Structure's done, part 1, complete. And then when you put in, let's see if I can find the, oh man. This is the chaos of the workbench some days. I like to keep things organized, but when you're working, it just gets stacked and piled. So I'm looking for the little piece of PVC. Hole saws up here. There it is. That's what I'm looking for. Put that in here. So yeah, by squeezing it together like I showed you guys, it gets it a nice tight snug fit. Then you don't have to glue the bottom in, because eventually this is a ton of work just getting these 7 concept models done as is. But eventually, when I take a break and get on some real work, maybe I can make some money with. I can come back in and maybe 3D print or maybe probably hand build a few little pieces that can be glued to here. And let me show you on this one. So eventually, maybe a little bonus kit down the road, or it's something you can do yourself. But I want to design a little shape, basically like little triangular shapes that go from the bottom of this face down to here. And I'll probably do them to something like with 1/4 inch material. And I'll just have, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, so 6, probably a dozen of them all the way around, just to kind of give that a little bit more detail and interest. The cool thing with these concept kits, these C4 caps, is they're a great base to start with. And once you have this built, you can add in all kinds of stuff. Put in your roll cages or your more weapons. Oh, so first we need, before we do that test, let's do this. Well, if I can find it. also have a little shim. Okay, let's test fit the piece we made today. So first thing we're gonna do is use this piece. Yeah, that's a nice snug fit. That fits better than the first one. And flip it over. Put on our turret bearing spacer. So that'll space out this oops, that's the messed up one. That'll space out the bottom torso section with the top turret. So let's see where we're at here. There you go. So I think the fun of concept modeling is dealing with the imperfections. Like for number 2 here, which was the demo, this was one of the most flawed pulls of the 4 that I did that day, which I didn't like how it got all soft back here. And there's a couple wrinkles in the corners. So how will you as a concept modeler deal with that? Maybe just leave it, maybe just throw some mud splatter on it, maybe put a toolbox back there, sculpt the dude out of Sculpey and lay him up in here and put some wool bars and put a plate over top so you don't even see the flaws. That's the kind of stuff you need to learn to do, I think. Same with this, maybe cut that up, make it look like a blaster hit. Fray that out, heat it up and fray it out and make it look all jagged. You know, give this thing some interests, some imperfections. But yeah, tired, y'all, man. I hope some of you guys will buy some of these and build them. Could use the help. I mean, I think they're pretty cool, right? Or I don't know. I like them. And then we get the domes on there. I think I'm gonna do some different size domes also. I tend to like the low profile one on this design. The first one I built was too high, and I kind of thought it was really dorky looking. Just because it stuck up so high. And then these, I changed up one little thing with my mold, and now they don't pull as deep. So I'm gonna have to figure out kind of a good in-between. So you might want to hold off on gluing that. Maybe I'll have a dome kit. I think I want it up just a little bit more on the second one here, but not as high as that one. That one's kind of growing on me. I mean, that's part of the look, is having the dome top. Pretty cool shadow. All right, that's it. I gotta be done for today. See you guys in the next episode.